This heaven is again the mind, the state of mind, know already. So we have to break the mind, Manonash actually.
Ah, well, the Christians, there are two meanings of heaven, and the heaven with a capital H is realization, and with a
Ah,
small h is the has the opposite of hell. But
uh-huh,
the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That's what
uh-huh,
Jesus
uh,
said. Yeah. um, well, I got a few quotes to
Go ahead.
begin with, but I have also something that you might be interested in, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I have asked Michael to share his story. I don't know if it's a good night for him, but share at least the beginning of his story, if not the whole of it. Anyway, this is Rumi. Rumi says, "Faith is the sail hoisted above the ship of your being. When there is a sail, the wind of the beloved's love can carry you to place after place of grace and wonder. Without a sail, your ship will only drift with the tide of the world."
Um, that's
Beautiful.
beautiful.
I'll read it
Beautiful.
again. Faith is the sail hoisted above the ship of your being. When there is a sail, the wind of the beloved's love can carry you to place after place of grace and wonder. Without a sail, your ship will only drift with the tide of the world. And you wind up at Taco Bell at lunchtime in the mall. This is Rumi again. Here we are rejoicing without wine. Every morning we wake up glowing. Every evening we go to bed fulfilled. People say there is no future for you, yet here we are rejoicing without a future. Here we are rejoicing without wine. Every morning we wake up glowing. Every evening we go to bed fulfilled. People say there is no future for you, yet here we are rejoicing without a future. Now, this is Zoroaster. Have we got any Zoroastrians here? We sometimes do. Nasreen, that's her background. No, that's Nasreen is Muslim background.
Yes, I am Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Zoroaster. There are very few quotes that I've come across of Zoroaster. He said, "O people of the earth, men born with the spirit of the divine within you, rise from your sleep of ignorance. Realize that your home is not on the earth, but in the light. O people of the earth, men born with the spirit of the divine within you, rise from your sleep of ignorance. Realize that your home is not on the earth, but in the light." Now, this is Baba here. "If you who keep company with me are sometimes attracted to worldly Maya, do not get disappointed. I too was once like you, but the grace of Babajan descended upon me, and she, the perfect saint, presented me with the pearl of God realization." And this is one of the Sufi perfect masters. "At the outset, I was mistaken in 4 respects. I set out to remember God, to know him, to love him, and to seek him. When I came to the end of my journey, I saw that he had remembered me before I remembered him, that his knowledge of me had preceded my knowledge of him, that his love for me had existed before my love for him, and he had sought me before I sought him. Yeah. Now, if I got one thing to share with you, but if anybody has anything that springs to mind or something that comes up or something to share.
Well, I just want to say I like that one about the future. I'm gonna have to replay this and write that down.
Okay, yeah. Good. Yeah. There's a line I like. Well, there are two things. One is about the future, Yogi Berra. The future just ain't what it used to be. And there's another one. Give up all hope of a better past. Give up all hope of a better past.
Better past.
Now, this is what I'm going to share with you. See this picture here? I don't know if you can see it very well. Can you see that?
Yeah.
You're familiar
Yep.
with this photograph. That's the first photograph taken of Baba after God realization.
Whoa.
And Baba was in on that. So I'm going to read. This is from Baba had one of his buddies, one of his childhood friends, who basically grew up, was born on the same bed, or the same ward and the same bed that Baba was born in, through 3 days later. His name was Bailey. Bailey turned out to be kind of an ill-tempered, irascible, he even calls himself a scoundrel. And Baba's mother would try to keep him from Baba from even associating with this kid, let alone playing with him. But Baba, because she thought he was a bad influence, and he considered himself kind of a bad person. But Baba remained faithful and true to him till the end. And in fact, at one point, he was so ignored and so hated and disliked and everything that he was considering committing suicide. And Baba, no one knew where he was, but Baba sent one of his mandali, go here and find him and bring him to me. And so the disciple went there, and his door was locked, and he banged and finally got Bailey to come out. He was on the point of suicide, and he was brought to Baba, and when he came from a distance, Baba got up and ran to him and took him in his arms and everything. But anyway, Bailey, thanks to Bailey, we know a lot of Baba's early childhood because he kept a diary. So this is what he writes about this photograph. The first photograph after God realization. He called him Meher. Baba was known as Meher in his childhood. Meher never showed any eagerness to have his photos taken. However, when he left Sakori in 1922 and came to Munshi Saab's home in Bombay, Chowpatty, this is one of his early mandali, kind of a very prominent businessman or had some prominent position. Munshi Saab expressed his heartfelt wish to have Baba's photograph taken. Baba gave his consent only if it was taken in the same clothes and in the same position in which he was then seated. Munshi Saab was fully aware of Baba's habit of frequently changing plans, and not wanting to miss this opportunity, he immediately rushed Syed sub in a car to bring a photographer at once. Fortunately, Baba was in a happy mood and continued talking and discussing with his companions while still seated on the floor. The photographer arrived in no time, and Baba, with a smile on his face, asked him to take his photograph without the slightest delay in the same posture as he was sitting then. The camera was quickly focused on Baba, and in a moment, the photograph was clicked. With a respectful thank you, the photographer left. Baba, too, got up. Munshi Sahib and the other disciples surrounded the photographer discussing something. Seeing Baba alone, I voiced my opinion. This is Bailey stating that it would have been better if he had worn some other clothes and sat in some other pose instead of on the floor. That would have looked more attractive and beautiful. After listening to my unsolicited suggestion, Baba indicated with a smile that in times to come, this is Baba, he's just left Socorro. He's just, I don't know how old, but he's quite young. Baba said, after listening to my unsolicited suggestion, Baba indicated with a smile that in times to come, his photographs would be taken on a daily basis in great numbers and in different poses. They would be flashed in newspapers of different languages of the world and in books and magazines. His photos would be used in lockets around necks, keychains, coat buttons, finger rings, etc. Films would be taken of him and they would be screened. There would be paintings in all postures, smaller than the smallest pea size to bigger than my size, 6 feet tall or larger. I did not utter a word. Even then, this photograph taken through Munshi Sahib's initiative has a special significance that no other photograph will have because Baba has put his own whole being into it, and that would not be found in any other photo. This photo was taken with Baba sitting on the floor of the Chowpatty Reclamation House. Baba was wearing an old, dirty, tight-fitting jacket and pantaloon. His sadra was tattered. The photograph was taken with Baba's right leg on the floor in a folded position. His left leg is in view, folded from the knee. Elbow of his left hand resting on the knee. His head supported in the palm of his left hand and his right hand resting on the ground. His hair cut small and a mustache trimmed. This photograph may not be considered attractive, but according to Baba's declaration, the importance of this photograph is quite distinctive. At the time when this photograph was taken, Baba paid full attention to the focus. That itself is a very important point. Besides, to my knowledge, this was the first public photograph taken of Baba after his achieving the divine state of God realization. So I'll show you that once again.
Jeff, what's the book that is the diaries? Is there a published book?
Yeah, this one here,
The one from, oh yeah,
Yeah.
Bailey. What's it called?
I don't know if you can get this book very easily, huh? Anyway, I thought that was just kind of interesting about Baba.
So Jeff, is that what do we call it God realization when the avatar gets to know himself, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, that was the term that Bailey used. He may have written that way back when Baba wasn't declaring that he was the avatar. I don't know. Anyway. Hey, we got Elaine Cox here too. Yeah, so Michael, what you have on tap there?
Well, nothing much except the story of my life,
Oh,
in 5 minutes or less,
yeah. Can you tell us?
in a box top of Wheaties.
What's that?
In a box top of Wheaties. You remember in the old days, where for 25 cents in a box top of Wheaties, you can get a Captain America ring?
Oh,
And they would tell you
well,
what's on
you're
it.
a little older than I am, but yeah. It was $2 by my time. No, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, well, let's see. I found out about Baba February 1st, the day after he passed. And actually, I wonder whether it was actually a day later or at the same time, because there's a 9.5 difference, an hour difference between India and New York. And this plays into another story. So I was thinking about how to tell these stories, and it's like the best way that I came up with is that there's a corridor, and where the stories begin, and they end up at the master's feet. And along this corridor, there are many doors and adventures that happen. And you go around this and that, and you open the final door and you end up in the same corridor, and you keep on plowing. And some of the doors take you back in time and some of them take you forward. So I'll start the day after Baba died or passed, when an ex-girlfriend of mine, whom I wanted to see again, told me she was going to an Avatar Meher Baba meeting. Now, when I heard the word mayor, I thought it was M-A-Y-O-R. And I'd never heard of a Mayor Baba before. I knew about the other mayors of New York City. So I thought about it and I called up, she didn't say where it was. So I called up the Paradox restaurant, which had macrobiotic food, and all the prevailing saints and teachers were on the bulletin board. So I figured somebody would know who Mayor Baba was. And sure enough, I got a phone number of a guy called Gary, whom I got to know, but of course I forgot his name. And the fellow recited the number to me, which was dangerous because I've always suffered from dyslexia. And of course I dialed a number that I thought I remembered, and it was wrong. And then I remembered my predilection for changing numbers around, switched them, and Gary answered the phone, much to my surprise. So he told me about the meeting at the Avatar Meher Baba Society that was led by Harry Kenmore.
That was Gary Nadlick. Gary Nadlick.
Mm-mm. No,
Wasn't
That's
that Gary Nadlick?
No,
no.
doesn't ring a bell.
I know he's talking about. I remember him from those days.
Okay.
I'll think of it in a minute.
All right, good. Nice
And
to-
hi, Michael, by the way.
Hi there. It's only been 10 years since we've seen each other.
10, try 20.
I think I saw you at one of the
Mm,
Christmas events.
mm.
When I went there in 2007 and 2009 at the center.
Okay. I was there for New Year's. Yeah.
Anyway, where was I? Okay, so Gary tells me it's at the Society for the Avatar Meher Baba. I get there, but it's 9 o'clock. Everybody's ready to leave. Harry Kenmore had flown to India to go to the Samadhi, and the news, of course, that was Baba wasn't going to be there. And I remember having the fleeting thought that, why? I won't be able to have his embrace. And I do not know where that thought came from, because I hadn't heard of Meher Baba until that moment, actually. But Cindy Bowes was there, and we took a liking to each other. She showed me around, and I went to her place in Brooklyn the next day or so, 2 days ago, well, whatever. And as I approached her door, there was a big poster of Baba, who was at the center at the time when this photograph was taken. And it said, "You and I are not we, but one." And I said, "Wow, I like that." And I go inside, and there's this poster with Baba with his hair like a lion, and he's got these eyes piercing. He could see everything in the universe. And it says, "I was Rama, I was Buddha, I was Jesus, I was Muhammad, now I am Meher Baba." I am the Ancient One, now I give the call. I said, wow, what does that mean? I was a Jewish smart alecky intellectual, you know, and a musician. And not that I was very successful at any of it, but I did think, well, anyway, I had my pride and I was thinking, I don't know what this is. And I just gotten out of Scientology 6 months previously. And it was in one hand, it was a horrendous experience, but on the other hand, it was a huge learning experience, which I could get back to because that's another door in the corridor. But I was thinking, is this the same kind of whack kind of organization? Because there was a picture of Baba on the wall about the same size that there was one in Scientology. But L. Ron Hubbard had the most, well, he had an unlikable expression on his face. And Mayor Baba definitely looked all right to me. And then I saw these posters. And then I saw a little business card that what was it, Mayor Information from Berkeley that Rick Chapman put out.
The box,
Mayor Baba, Mayor Baba Information, wasn't it?
yeah.
Anyway, there
Mayor
was a
Ba-
Mayor Baba, it's like in a field with this looking to the side like this. And the caption said, I'm the divine beloved who loves you more than you can ever love yourself. I was thinking, what does that mean? How can anybody love me more than me?
Mhm.
And then the other statement was, I and God am one. And I was floored. Because if I went to the Paradox restaurant, looked at all these saints and spiritual people, none of them would have the balls to say that. You know, and here's a guy just saying flat out, I and God am one, because he's either that or he's a liar. And I said, well, how do I know? What do I have to gauge this statement? I mean, I wasn't brought up, you know, visualizing God and having discussions about what God is. And here's a guy that says, I and God am one. And I remember I'm getting emotional again because I had one of these moments where things just changed. The figure disappeared. I imagined this figure in the cosmos with these billions of stars. And I said, how can this figure, a human being, encompass all of that? So the figure disappeared and I saw a door opening and this light coming out from it. And I said, that means there's a way out. And it was a shock that I realized that I'd considered the physical universe to be a prison from which there was no escape. And here there was a door saying, I'm the way out of this.
Mm.
And I definitely became very intrigued. So I thought I'd hang in there and find out more about this guy, this mystery, who without hardly saying anything, I mean, written anything, just kind of went like this, come, check me out. So the next meeting I went to was Monday. The meeting I went to before was Saturday. So Monday comes and I go to Fred and Ella's meeting and I found them so charming and lovable that that was my preferred meeting to go to. And there was a big discussion going on whether the darshan was still ongoing because Baba said that he wanted a darshan. And Erich said, you're not well. I mean, how could you do this? And because it would damage your health. And Baba said, don't worry, I'll do it lying down. And that's one of the reasons why when he was buried, they put a stone under his head so his head would be slightly raised. That's my understanding. And I figured, well, if he was God and they knew everything, well, sure, he knew he was going to die, you know. I wasn't burdened with what I was supposed to think or any expectations. I just figured God knew everything. So of course, his own death was predicted and known to him. Then there was a question of going to India, and I remember what he said. The darshan was for the lovers of God to come to India for his blessing. And I wasn't really aware of it at the time, but I have this sense of integrity. And I didn't know that I was the lover of God, in which case I didn't want to go under false pretenses. So I went to the center in South Carolina where I met Kitty, and she interviewed me. I fell in love with her then. It wasn't much later that I wanted to, but she became my role model for when I grew older. If I could be half as wise as she, I'd be content. So as I stayed on the center, I could feel a dam kind of cracking. All this spirituality of mine was dammed up, and I could feel cracks in the dam. And I said, I guess I am a lover of God. Okay, so I'm going to go to India. And that was the only one I could make was the one with the society. I think it was in June. And I met a lot of you. Jeff, did you go to the Great Darshan? Jeff?
No,
No?
but Baba came to 3 of us in a
Yeah.
restaurant 3 days after he dropped his body in Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had this incredible adventure just before the departure for Darshan. I had a boat. I was living on a boat, and I had leased it to a lady and her daughter out in Long Island. And I hired a fellow to take the boat out there while I was doing sales. I was working for New Line Cinema, trying to promote their movies. At the time, New Line Cinema was a film distributor. So I come back after one of my trips, and the plane I'll be taking off on the plane a few days later, and the boat is still there. I said, Joe, what's the matter? And he wouldn't talk to me. He smoked a cigarette, looked away. So I knew that I had to take this boat to out to Patchogue, where I had contracted with the lady to moor it so she could enjoy it. And that had to be done immediately. So I don't know whether I should tell you that story or not, whether we have time for it. But it was a story that was one of the most remarkable things that I ever experienced. And not that the particulars of it were so extraordinary. It's just that, on the other hand, looking at it from another point of view, it was monumental. Okay, let's just say that the boat represented my spiritual body. And we took off at night, because that's when the tide was running. Cliff Ives, who had lent me money to get my plane ticket. I don't know if you guys know Cliff Ives. Anybody?
No, I
No.
don't remember him.
I don't remember him, but I do remember the name of that Gary. It was Gary Brilliant.
Gary
Right?
Brilliant,
Yeah,
that's
that
right.
sounds
Yes.
familiar.
Yeah.
So we take off on the boat, and I had a few other friends, and we were having a lovely time going down the Hudson River. And New York doesn't look prettier than it does from the water, with all the lights shining onto the black water and sparkling, looks like jewels. But the boat had been laid up for a while, and there was water pouring into some of the planks in the bow, forcing its way through the joints, which had opened up because they had dried out. So I announced, it was so funny. I announced to the group that was on the stern, we're sinking, we have to bail the boat out. So the party turned into this panic. My God, we're going to die. And I had 5-gallon buckets, and we created a bucket brigade and started throwing water overboard. And the seam started swelling up. So we got to 23rd Street. The passengers left with a sigh of relief. Cliff stayed with me. And we took the boat around Manhattan, went to Sheepshead Bay, and I tried to patch up the seams with some putty. We took off, and it was twilight. Twilight in New York City in those days involved a lot of smog. So there was this beautiful pink quality to it. The sunsets were beautiful. And I saw lightning in the distance. And we were both exhausted. So I sent Cliff down below. I set the course to run parallel to Long Island, which is shaped like a fish, by the way. It's not a straight line. And I say that because I took a rope and I tied the tiller, the steering wheel with the rope, and I went up for it to watch what was going on, and I promptly fell asleep. And when I woke up, it was light. We had gone all night into the Atlantic. I didn't have a compass. I was always sailing through the seat of my pants or by the seat of my pants, and I'm wondering, did I just take the boat out into the middle of the Atlantic? Where the hell am I? I couldn't see anything because there was a mist. And I looked around and I was in a panic. And I looked around again and I could see the faint outline of houses along the shore, the same distance that we had been 8 hours previously. And I thought, I can't take this. Cliff, take the wheel. I had to sleep because I could not grasp what had happened, except that something had steered the boat, because Long Island makes a curve at that point. And by all rights, if we'd gone straight, we would have gone into shoal water and wrecked the boat. But instead, we went around this curved edge. And finally, I woke up when the engine was going up and down. Cliff had reduced the throttle, and I was attuned to the boat, so I knew something was up. So I got up, and he was looking at an inlet. Now, I don't know if you're acquainted with this, but along the eastern seaboard, there's a lot of sand. And when the ocean breaches these little islands or this land, you either go into a harbor, or in this case, it was a Great South Bay. It was a huge bay. And he was looking at this inlet. And we were supposed to get off at the Fire Island Inlet, but we had sailed past that, but I didn't know, because I didn't have any navigation instruments and I didn't have a compass. And there was no way of telling how long I'd been asleep. So I decided, okay, we're going to run this inlet. Now, running the inlet means that the water that looked like a mill pond, because it looked like a mill pond when we started, the water, as the land gets shallow, the waves build up because of the friction underneath holding the waves back. So it gets higher and higher until it crests. And if you don't handle the boat well, or if you're unlucky, you can end up either capsizing this way or broaching with the bow plunges into the water, to the trough of the wave in front of it. You get the wave behind it catches it and tosses it on its back. So it was a risk that we had to take. Well, I thought we had to take. So we circled, and every time I circled, the waves got higher. And I said, I can't find the white water. When there's deep water in an inlet, there's no waves that are breaking. So you'd have all this white water break, white water, but it was white water all the way across. That meant that the water was shallow all the way across. So I thought, I don't know whether we should do this. And I turned around to look at where we're going to go, and there's this huge wave behind me. It was so high, it was taller than the boat. I looked up and I said, we're going in. We're going to take our chances and go. So I pointed the boat towards the middle of the inlet. And the first wave that hit us like a huge hammer. You could feel the boat shudder. And then the second wave just picked us up and moved us like 45-degree angle, like a roller coaster, over the bar. And we settled into the inlet where it was calm. And fishermen with their little aluminum boats looked at us as if we were mad. And we, instead of being $6,000 worth of driftwood, we were safe and sound on the other side of this bar. And I knew that I could feel the presence of God in all this. It was just too coincidental. There was no way we could even have survived that because the water height was as deep as the boat. And if we'd hit it in the trough, it would have broken the keel of the boat. Instead, surfing it the way we did, we surfed us over. But inside it was very confusing. I couldn't tell which was the deep water and which was the navigable water, because the Great South Bay is sometimes 1 foot deep. But when you look at it, it might as well be 20 feet deep. You can't tell looking at a body of water how much water there is underneath it. So I immediately took the wrong turn and we went aground. But then a Coast Guard fellow was fishing. He says, "Oh, you need any help?" I said, "Yeah, we can't get off this sandbar." And he said, "Oh, don't worry. There's a Coast Guard station right down the way. I'll hop in it and we'll get to you right away." And sure enough, about an hour later, one of the cutters, it's about 32 feet, comes and starts towing us. And we get into the navigable areas. And I start studying the charts at this point, and I measure the gasoline. And we're going along, we're being towed to 4 channels. Between the 4th and the 5th and 6th channels, there's a bridge, a drawbridge. And there's also a gas dock at the 1st channel. So I'm thinking, gee, that looks like the 4 planes. And the other planes look like it's the 5th and 6th planes. And the 7th one is Patchogue Bay, which doesn't have, it's not even a channel. So I said, I don't know what's going on here, but I think I want to do this on my own. I want to steer the boat through these channels myself. So we went, asked the Coast Guard cutter to turn us loose. I should explain that these channels that we were on were maybe a mile long, and they were 20 feet wide. And at the most, they were 6 feet deep. Now my boat drew, it was 3.5 feet deep, and it was 14 feet wide, which means that I only had 3 feet on either side to be in the middle. And it's not that the channels came down in a perfect square and went like this. They were like this. So it was really easy. And all the other water around us was maybe 4 feet, 2 feet, very shallow. I managed to turn the boat in its own length, go back up to the 1st channel, fill up with gas. And I could have sworn when I looked at it that it didn't say gas, it said God. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to catch on what's happening, but somehow it's becoming very exciting to me that I'm on a spiritual journey. It's not just a boat ride. And it's a boat ride that's been really well orchestrated with the physical universe. I mean, I could have had a vision, right? I mean, that would have been a lot easier. Hey, let's give Michael a dream. So instead, it was like,
What were you on, Michael?
it was a real production. So I'm studying the chart and I'm thinking, what if these channels represent the planes? I remember Bob was saying that there was a turn between the different planes. And there was definitely a turn between each one of these. And of course, when we got to the 4th, in the end of the 4th channel at the bridge, the damn thing wouldn't open. So it circled it in a very shallow water. There was only maybe 4 or 5 feet of water. And I'm thinking any minute now, we're going to go aground again. And this time, maybe it'll be a rock that'll really tear out the bottom. And the fellow in the bridge leans out the window and says, "I can't open the bridge." And I said, "This has got to be God." So I wait. And I waited 2.5 turns. And I thought, is that 25 years? Is that 50 years? Is that 250 years? I didn't know what the length of time was, but I knew it meant something. And finally, the bridge opened, and it was only 20 feet wide. And again, there was like 3 feet on either side. The wind was blowing 15 knots, which wanted to move us sideways. It took a lot of skill to stay in the middle of the channel and in the middle of that passageway through the bridge. And there was no slowing it down. I mean, the boat was carried by the current through the bridge. And when we got to I'm going to call them the fifth and sixth planes. There was a lot of room on either side. They were shorter. And when we got to Patchogue Bay, the seventh plane, we stopped the boat, got us out, swam, brought the boat into Patchogue, docked it, and it never ran again. And I've had a feeling that, not a feeling, I'm a conviction that I just was a witness to my own spiritual journey. And what was most interesting about it was how everything was coordinated, like the sinking of the boat and the lightning that I saw in the distance, and how dangerous it was to enter the spiritual world, which for me was represented, Scientology represented a danger because they wave all sorts of enticements to stay in this muck, spiritual things that are like trinkets. And I got out because I wanted to be true to my conscience. And it's another story, but it's a good one. So there I am, breaching the barrier to the spiritual world, making it by the skin of my teeth. I could have gone through veiled. In other words, let the Coast Guard cutter take me through it. So I wouldn't have to worry about staying on course or being responsible for going on, through these channels. So the journey was ended, and Cliff and I waited for the train. And as I'm waiting for the train, there was a 40-foot tower that used to check out. It was a watchtower where they would look at the trains coming and going. And at the foot of it was a little fledgling bird who couldn't fly, just fallen out of the nest. And I climbed all the steps, and I tried to put the bird back. But at the risk of falling off the thing myself, I decided against making that last leap of faith, which stepping up on a 2x4 and reaching up and trying to find the nest and putting the bird back. So I took him. I knew that I had to choose between taking the bird home with me to New York City or leaving him and going and make my appointment with God the next day. So I walked around Patchogue with this little bird in my pocket, keeping it warm with my hand, debating whether I should save this bird and I had no guarantee that I'd be able to save it or leave it. So I left it. I decided to leave it because I wanted to meet God. That was really more important to me than anything. So I left it at the foot of a tree next to a house near the driveway, and hopefully that somebody would notice it and take care of it. If not, at least the bird would die alone, but it had been cradled. And I did say Baba's name. And it's funny how that bird's loss affects me. And I have no idea. I didn't know how to connect that with this spiritual journey I was on. But it could be that what I was leaving was my old self, come to think of it. And I was attached to my little New York melodrama that I was going through. And my life at the time, as we all are, finally, I had to let go of it. So the next day we get on the airplane to India, and we checked the Bombay Baba lovers, greeted us, and they were just so charming. People were so sweet to us. And there was this little family with the father who played the harmonium, and he was the author of this, so the composer of this song, "We welcome you, we welcome you, we welcome you, we welcome you, all the sons of Mayhem." And they had a little tiny daughter that would do these great little moves, and the eyes were all made up. And it was so charming. And Francis gave his talk. And I'm not sure if that was the first day, but it turned out that I was the only one who had showed up with a guitar, who knew how to accompany singers. I'd spent years being an accompanist. I left that out, sorry. And that was before the general meeting where I was rehearsing with people. And then we went to Guru Prasad, and we would, maybe 10 or 12 people whose presentations I accompanied. And there was a green chair, stuffed chair that Baba was sit on. The chair had his picture, a garland, and his sandals underneath. And I looked at that chair as I was rehearsing with the performers, and I didn't feel anything. And I was so profoundly disappointed. Now, I was brought up not to show my emotions. So not a tear was shed, no expression changed my face. I felt like frozen. But in my heart of hearts, I was thinking, reveal yourself to me. I've come 10,000 miles. I know I've read the books. I don't want any more books. I don't want any more words. Reveal yourself to me. So the next day, as I said, we were greeted by the wonderful little family, and Francis gave his talk about being upside down in a garbage can. And I accompanied a few singers, and I don't know the exact sequence of everything. It was pretty much a blur. But Erish got up and talked. And as soon as I saw him, I said, I love this man. He had khaki pants on, sandals, white t-shirt. He was brawny at the time, nice muscles, short hair and a mustache. I was expecting to see somebody in an orange robe and beard saying, I am now in charge of the ashram. And please spell my name right when you make out your checks. And because I was a cynical New Yorker, I expected everybody to have their hand out. And he was just totally broke that image. And he was saying, I don't know, we don't know why you're here. We knew Baba was God. But you have never met him, and you've come all this way. And his humility was so touching that it immediately opened up my heart. And the next thing I knew, I was standing in front of a huge oval mirror. I called it like a 14-foot mirror with beveled edges, hard glass. And as I looked into that mirror, I saw my true self, and I wept. And I cannot describe, I won't even try to describe what I saw, because I really don't know what I saw. I just know it was my true self. And I remember the thought that I had, which was, here I am, a piece of shit floating around the sewers of New York City, and God remembered me. It was overwhelming. So I had purchased a sadra, and I had that on. And after the meeting was over, I walked, went over a bridge, river, saw women pounding laundry on the rocks, past the Bund Garden. And I walked to the very end of it, and I didn't know where I was, but there was a priest there and a young man. And I found out later on that I was where the Zoroastrians bring their dead to be devoured by vultures. And the young man and I made friends, and we bought some ice cream, which I ate with him, my own piece, of course, which was against the rules. I wasn't supposed to eat anything that hadn't been prepared in the hotel. So, and as I walked, there was this light rain that I'd heard was a blessing, and I really did feel blessed. And I know from that moment on, I went mad. Tried to lead a normal life, but I couldn't. There were so many things boiling around inside me. And there was so much suffering that I went through. And my life has been, oh, a challenge. I had more things go wrong than go right, but I managed to accomplish a fair amount of things. And now I'm 80 years old, just turned 80. And I'm thinking, well, this is the final lap, you know? What has God got in mind now? Because I don't feel like it's over. I don't feel like going out to pasture. When I escaped Scientology, I developed a methodology for redeeming my conscience, which I had lost in this drama with Scientology. It's hard for me to start talking about it without getting into another frame of mind, which is more coarse. You know what I mean? Because being in front of that mirror was just so profound. Let's go back to that. I prefer that than this other one, even though it's really important. Once I found out that my link with Baba and with my divine self is my conscience, and if I keep my conscience clean, then I always have that connection. Anyway, to me, that meeting was like Odysseus tying himself up on the mast and telling his men to plug their ears and keep on rowing, and to row past the island where the sirens were on the beach singing a song that drove men mad and drove them to their destruction. And I don't know whether I was Odysseus or not, but I always tell the story in the first person. But I strained at those bonds. Let me go. Let me swim. Free me. But the men had their ears clogged and they couldn't hear me. And that was 2,500 years ago. But recently, I've heard that siren call again. And there is no ship that I'm on, no mast to tie myself to, nor do I have the fear of diving into the water and swimming to the sirens. Because the song that they sang is Baba's song, which is love me, love me. And even if I swim to my very death, what is that? The body comes and goes. But to disappear in that song itself, to become the song, that's the only purpose of life.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
So,
Wonderful.
hey, Bob.
Jai Baba. Wow. Whew.
Wow. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
I have something for you to look at here, Michael. Tell me if you remember this.
Yeah, I remember that. You got the
I've,
one-
I've taken good care of it all these years.
Well, I gave
Michael's
you,
a master carpenter.
Yes, well, here's a piece of his work.
Yeah,
Can you see it? The table. It's
yeah.
this-
Just kind of keep the camera steady. Yeah.
it was made out of wood from salvage from the houses in Charleston, South Carolina.
Wow.
So the wood is probably at least 300 years old. Maybe
Yeah.
even.
The thing is, it's not, it's, these pieces are all the way through. It's hard for me to hold it and see where it's showing you, but I wanted to.
Actually, that's the Indian version that James came up with.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how beautiful it is.
You've got it.
And the legs are like this.
Yeah.
It's one of my great conversation pieces.
Really?
So I just wanted you to know, I have loved it all these years.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah.
Who was the lunatic that did that?
Yeah. He's
And
right
we went
here.
through a lot of trouble dropping it off to you also.
Yeah. I had somebody sit on it at a party, so
Oh,
part of the finish on one corner has a slight crack in it, but I haven't had it refinished and I'm not going to.
Well, you know, it's epoxy,
Yeah, I know.
or you can't really refinish it.
I know. So I just watch it now if there are people present. And I don't let people sit on it anymore.
Well, I used to let people sit on it.
Well, somebody finally got, it's just it's a small thing.
So make sure that they empty their pockets.
Yeah.
hey,
Anyway.
Michael.
Yeah.
Michael, this is Betty.
Hi, Betty.
Am I remembering that you have a piece in Baba's house at the center? Is that right? There's
Well,
something that you
Jane-
made.
That's another Baba story.
Chat.
Jane asked me to build a piece of furniture that was based on the piece of furniture they had where they displayed Baba's stuff at the 1964 World's Fair. And it was a plexiglass case, hexagonal, with a barrel underneath it, one of these paper barrels. And I came up with a drawing using a walnut. And it was a pretty elaborate piece, and it was only about the third piece of furniture I worked on or made. So maybe the fourth. So I do the drawing, and and she liked it, but Elizabeth had to approve of it. And the most remarkable thing happened, and it's when Elizabeth and I became friends. I gave her the drawing, and we were both seated on the couch. She was sort of in the middle. I was off to one side. And she unrolls it and looks at it for 30 seconds. And she rolls it back up, and then she looks up like this for at least 2 minutes. You know how awkward it is to sit with somebody for 2 minutes without a word being spoken? I wasn't going to say, well, do you like it? Do you like it? And I was thinking, I was sitting there on tenterhooks, wondering what was going on in her mind. What was she seeing? And what was she seeing that either I saw or that she saw that I wasn't even aware of that I saw? And anyway, she turns to me and says, it's quite a meditation, isn't it? And I thought, wow, because for me, woodworking is a meditation. So I proposed $600 for it to cover the wood. And I was working in a utility shed at the time with a radio alarm saw, sander, and a router. And a little hand sander. Those are my only power tools. And I built this very elaborate display case, which is 36 inches, in terms of diameter. And after 28 years, I visited the center and they were still there. It needed some work though. So as I was sanding it flat, my machine was slightly off and it kept on making a crease in it. And I kept on sanding it until the dowels that I used to hold it together showed. And I said, oh my God, I've ruined it. I've absolutely ruined this piece of furniture. And there was no way to fix it. Either I start all over again or what. So anyway, I tell Jane, and Jane says, well, don't worry about it, my dear. She was so lovely. There were people you want to just kiss, He says, don't worry about it, dear. We'll put Baba's sandals over that and nobody will ever know. And I was thinking, I had this arrogance that it was going to be perfect. And now I have to live with this imperfection for the rest of my life. but at least I've got Baba's sandal.
Cover you.
Yeah, it was just a marvelous moment. And I had moments like that with Kitty and Jane and Elizabeth. One of them was leading a chorus, because I'd studied composition. I know how to write music and arrange for choruses. So I organized a chorus that would meet on all the holidays and Baba's holidays. And on two of them, I'd written arrangements for one of Bob Brown's songs and one of Jim Meyer's songs. And what was amazing is that Kitty and Jane would come to every performance. And they would just sit there in the aisle, close enough that I could see them, and just have this big smile on their faces, and just honor me with their presence. It was just, I felt honored to have them there, because I went through agony and hell trying to get people to sing and learn their parts, and nobody would study, and they would talk while the one part was studying. It was like herding cats. And of course, my wife at the time said would just make fun of me, and so she was no support. It was a mess. Kathy Wiley was there. She could tell
I
you
was there, one of those disreputable people.
So
Hey, let's see, anyone, let's just see if anyone else had anything. Sometimes,
Yes,
yeah, go ahead.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
That meeting this morning, the Zoom meeting was so wonderful. And you mentioned something, this story about these two Parsi ladies that were from Louisiana.
yeah.
And I would like to know if you remember their names and what year was that? And where were they in Louisiana? If you know.
Boy, I'm
If-
not going to be able to help you in that. I don't remember their names.
Okay,
They were both redheaded, which was unusual.
okay.
And like I say, they had been from in Louisiana. These are a couple ladies that showed up at the center. And I can't even remember what year. It could have been 20 years ago, could have been 15 years ago, who showed up at, some of you didn't hear, but they showed up and their father had died, and they were going through his effects. And they discovered there was another brother who they really hadn't heard much about at all. And in fact, Padre was, his uncle was this Colonel Arani, who was dead set against Baba.
Right.
And so he would go and visit them in Louisiana, and he really didn't talk about, he kind of down-talked Baba and didn't really tell them about Padre, their uncle. But when he died, they realized there's this other brother. And so they contacted the center, and the center said, well, if they had any pictures of them, when they had a video. And so a video was sent to these two ladies, very elegant, really mature ladies.
How old were they roughly?
Probably in their 50s.
Okay.
And so they got this video of Padre, and they howled with laughter. They told me, I was taking them around on the golf cart, howled with laughter to hear somebody who actually talked like their father. They'd never heard anybody talk like their dad, Mister, it takes time. The way he would
These
talk.
things take.
Their father talked the same way. But I was driving them around on the golf cart, and I can't remember, but I was very tempted, and I may have said that your uncle was one of the intimate disciples of the Avatar himself. But probably Mehru's cousins, long lost cousins. But anyway, but I didn't know much about them, and I didn't take down their name. Center's been so busy.
If you sent them that tape, where did you send it? I'm just curious.
Well, I
What
didn't,
was-
I mean, the office did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now you could get in touch with Barbara Plews and perhaps you could find out a little bit about these ladies.
Yeah,
But
okay.
they gotten into Ananda Marg.
Yeah, you mentioned
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We are not able to hear you,
Interesting,
Jeff.
because, I was born in Louisiana,
Yeah, I knew you. I thought of you when I shared that.
and I was just
We
wondering
are still not
what
able
part
to
of
hear you.
the state,
Ooh, what, say that again?
and what part of the state?
Wait 1 second. Jaysiba, you saying you can't hear me? Can you folks hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
All right, anyway,
yeah. Well, thank you. I just wanted
Yeah.
to maybe chase that down. I
yeah.
hate to bother Barbara with something like that, but
Oh, it might be interesting. Let's
Yeah.
see, Alan, you got anything on your plate?
Hey, well, not really. I heard this Armenian man sing today because Adrian was part of some like a short little concert thing, and he's Armenian from Lebanon, and my mom is Armenian from Lebanon as well.
hmm,
So he had the same kind of accent, and then I was like, in the middle of my day, and I was chopping it, or I was not chopping, but I was cutting an apple, and as he's like, and this is the this composition I put together. Thank you. And then he starts singing, and it's just amazing to me how Baba can visit you, or you can the veil it just opens up all of a sudden. It was like a voice, the seventh shadow of his. It just like I saw this family. I saw this man speaking to this family and these kids, and he was talking about the Avatar. And all of a sudden, they all had a moment, a very strong moment, where their hearts broke and their tears began to fall from their faces. And I said to myself, this man's song are the tears on the faces. I couldn't explain it. It was like
Yeah.
that song is the heartbreak of like so deep, something very deep within myself was moved, and suddenly Baba was there, and it was like, whoa, like I'm just cutting an apple here. Just very overwhelmed, and but yeah, no, I don't know why I felt like sharing that, but
Yeah. Now that Gary Asadorian. Has Adrian connected with Gary Asadorian?
no, I don't think he's a Baba lover, but he's somewhere out there. It was like a small concert from people around the world, so I don't know exactly where he was singing from.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's very beautiful. But I have been experiencing quite a challenging time with keeping the spaciousness that we've talked about. It's like, it's just it. I've been relying more on just I can't necessarily experience the truth of Baba all the time, and I know though that if I simply just try to hold on to his name, or in just seeing little images in my mind of like holding on to him, that it does seem to help me go through the storms, because sometimes the storms are just, those mental storms are very, they're just very painful on many levels. And so the only thing I can do is really kind of say his name and hold on through the storm. But it doesn't necessarily make me feel like happy and jolly. Like like I still feel feel pain. But it's been happening a lot lately, and I've been trying to navigate through that. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, as long as you're even just saying Baba's name is when he hears his name, he comes. I mean, even though he's there, I mean, he he still comes. I mean, it's kind of a paradox, but in other words, if I say Alan, if you're in a crowd and I say Alan, you turn your head toward me. And it's the same way with Baba. Even though it seems like you're just saying Baba's name, it's like, but there's someone at the other end there. Hey, Ganesh, what about you? You got anything up your sleeve?
No. It's right in the morning we are. And all I can say has been, work's been keeping me busy, but all that I could do, I could manage myself to go to the dunya on Friday to Mehrabad. So thanks to Baba.
Oh, good.
Hmm. We're all jealous of that.
Well, he took us, so.
Yes, y'all were with me in spirits. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that I gathered from Darwin and Erich and Adi, and it was like really very valuable. I don't know if I can explain it. It's difficult to explain, but it's one of the fundamentals. See if I can do it. But as I said earlier, when Rick Chapman came to see Baba, and this is 1966, and he was like a real spiritual seeker. I mean, he had the look of that, and when he was there in his great darshan with Baba in Mandalay Hall, Baba says to him, forget about spirituality, forget about the planes of consciousness, and forget about spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, what master would tell you such a thing? I mean, the whole thing is to go into the spiritual. But the way I gathered from especially Darwin is there's the spiritual realm. I mean, from the gross plane, we're confronted by the spiritual plane and all the spiritual realm and all the planes and everything. And then there's the realm of reality, which is Baba. Now, the one, you go higher and higher in the spiritual realm, and your impressions are more and more refined and more refined. Whereas when you get to when you're in the spiritual, in the realm of reality, which is Baba, there are no impressions.
Mhm.
Darwin used to say Baba is impressionless being. So as we move toward Baba, even saying his name or whatever, we're moving toward the Baba's impressionlessness, and our impressions, our good and bad impressions and our spiritual impressions all get dissolved in his being. Whereas if you go into the spiritual, you just pick up more and more spiritual impressions. So there's a bypass. Baba's saying you can bypass the spiritual realm and go directly to him. And Adi used to say that the difference between someone on the gross plane and someone on the sixth plane is someone in the gross plane is drowning in 6,000 feet of water. And someone on the sixth plane is drowning in 6 inches of water. But they're both drowning, they're both drowned in illusion. So Baba's trying to wean us away from the spiritual, which is very attractive. I mean, when it's more expansive, you have visions, intuitions, and all of that. So it's hard not to think that that's the real direction to go. So Baba has us going toward the real, and to himself, the real. And as kind of like, if you go into the spiritual realm, you can reach a high station. Whereas if you go toward Baba, what you get is naturalness. You become natural. And Erich used to say over and over again in Mandalay Hall, about every 3 weeks, he would say, quoting Baba, "To be natural is most godly. Not to be spiritual is most godly, to be natural is most godly." So that was the kind of orientation I got from Adi and Erich and Darwin. Go for Baba but in our going to Baba, we are going toward the real and not toward the spiritual.
So when you
I don't-
say, so Jeff, what you explained is really beautiful. But the last part which you meant is natural because we all want to be a better version of ourselves. So, I mean, I don't know if that is being natural, but what you
Yeah.
want, what we, yeah, because we all strive to be a better version because naturally it may not be so appealing of what I am.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that what Erich was saying, in quoting Bob, was to be heart natural, not to be desire natural, but to be heart natural. You know, but
thanks, that helps. Thank you.
yeah, and I mean, of course, you may have to be desire natural for a while until you kind of move out of that realm. That might be natural to you at one stage, but you want to move toward heart natural and then move into the soul. But anyway, that I don't know if that makes any sense. I should ask, where's Mayor Prasad? Ah. Oh, there he is.
Sorry, what was?
Does that make sense, or were you here were you there to hear that?
I was not here. I just came
Oh,
back.
okay. Oh, all right. I said something, and if it made sense to you, it might you might be able to put it in a different set of words, but you were out. Anyway, that was very, we're so fortunate because we are going toward the real, where infinite God touches the world of illusion. That's the real place. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, what you were saying was, I just actually literally, I just read that in discourses today because Bob was talking about how even if you, with the ego and the dissolution of the ego, like from what I'm understanding, what I'm reading, as far as what I'm reading is, it can literally find its way, it can weasel its way into anything, including like spiritual humbleness or like spirituality or like thinking that you've surpassed something or you've done something. And I read that, and in that moment of reading that, I was like, well, then how do I really know? I mean, the only way that I really know that I'm touching reality or experiencing reality, or like in that the places that I hold on to, are when I really am feeling Baba. That's the only time I really have some sense, like all my life, all the pains and sufferings that I will experience, that I have experienced, and that I'm experiencing now, all this stuff that I'm very tired. I'm tired. It's just all of that is for this. Like there's just that. The second I came to Baba in this life, that was like, that's it. That's the thing. You are the one that I've been, all of this has been for this, for you. And I think I think maybe that causes the longing when I don't, I mean, quite often do not have that experience, then I'm just suffering. And I think that like, oh, maybe I can make some effort. Yeah, maybe I can make some effort to get back to it. And maybe how do I love you more? And I try to love him more. And then it makes me feel like, well, that's the part with the naturalness for me. I'm like, well, it kind of makes me like, well, like if I can't really push forward or go back or force this, then I don't know. I guess there's some dropping into a place of like, maybe that's the surrender. I don't know. The place of like, oh, I can't. All right. Okay. And that's moments though. It's not even like I can hold on to that even,
But yeah, just touching base with a photograph of Baba, his name, a movie, a conversation, an act of love. They're all, we're touching base with the real.
Right.
And we're getting established in the real. It's a beautiful thing. Hey, but I wanted to ask Elaine Cox to sing Ishtiaki.
Ishtiake?
Ishtiake, I don't know how to pronounce it, but give us the translation. This is a melody by Baba and the words are by Baba.
Okay, I would like to just go into another room and get out my words because I haven't sung it in a while and I really hate it if I sing something wrong. Because these are
And-
Baba's words and I want to be sure I get it right.
And the women mandali would have Elaine sing a lot of these songs from the songs that they sang before Baba. And she learned them in
Yeah, I have a feeling I left that in my car. Ugh, I had it out today,
yeah.
as a matter of.
Well, just it'll be all right. We won't know.
Oh,
We
here
won't.
it
We
is.
don't know
No,
the
here it is.
language.
Here it is.
Oh,
That's
good.
not the point. That's not the point.
But they would have Elaine sing.
They, let's see. Is there anyone here who speaks Farsi?
I know some little.
Yes, yes.
Vijay.
Yeah.
I can
Okay.
help
And,
you if you.
Nasreen knows Farsi. Payam, do you know Farsi?
Yes.
This is
Sure.
actually, Payam, it's in Urdu, but you know, Baba would mix up. He would do what I call language kachubar. He would throw in one Gujarati word and then he'd use Persian and then he'd use, you know, Hindi, high Hindi. So it is.
Minestrone.
It's a mix. Okay. All right, I found it. I've got it.
And put your thing on original sound,
Uh,
upper
Where?
left-hand corner.
where, down below?
No, upper left,
Oh, upper left.
original sound.
I don't see it.
Uh,
I see a button for recording and then I see that little,
oh, okay.
I don't know. How does it sound to you, my speaking voice?
Yeah, you sound good.
Okay, let's just go with that.
So this is written by Baba, and just imagine how difficult it would be for being on silence to convey a song. You know, you have to, everybody has to give a note and then you kind of, you know, and then you have to notate it and
Okay, the translation first was given to Erico, from whom I got it, by Padre. And I think Padre said that this was Baba's translation. So this is third person now, but the translation is, when your love for God becomes intense beyond limit, then you will see his glory right in front of your very eyes. What can I tell you? How can I tell you what you will become when you lose your ego? You yourself, the lover, will become the beloved. He whispered in my ear the secret behind the veil. I will become all yours when you become all mine.
read that once again, Elaine,
The last couplet or
the whole thing.
The three couplets, okay. When your love for God becomes intense, beyond limit, that means like over the top, then you will see his glory right in front of your eyes. What can I tell you what you will become when you lose your ego? You yourself, the lover, will become the beloved. He whispered in my ear the secret behind the veil. I will become all yours when you become all mine. Meher Baba.
Hey, Jeff, this afternoon we were talking about what was behind the veils in the Darwin's book.
Yeah, or creating veils. Yeah, that we need to get behind. Yeah.
Well, this is, I've always taken it to be the veil of illusion, of course.
Yeah, the big
veil.
veil.
That heavy curtain. Okay. This- My towel is hanging off the chair, ringing, sorry. Ishtiyake shoka jabahada se siva hojaya. Ishtiyake shoka jabahada se siva hojayega. Samane akon ke wojal vanuma hojayega. Samane akon ke wojal vanuma hojayega. Yakahu aidil kudiko keratuk ya hojayega. Yakahu aidil kudiko keratuk ya hojayega. Vasile hakahoga bande sekura hojayega. Vasile hakahoga bande sekura hojayega. Kano me akake wo kahe gaye mujhe parade ki baat. Kano me akake wo kahe gaye mujhe parade ki baat. Mai tera ho jaunga jab tu mera ho jayega. Mai tera ho jaunga jab tu mera ho jayega. Ishtiyake shoka jabahada se siva hojayega. Samane akon ke wojal vanuma hojayega.
Beautiful. Thank you, Elaine. Wow.
Beautiful.
Let me, Nasreen and Payam, did you understand any of that?
Not really.
Ah,
Only the ishtiyaq.
which
Uh,
Payam,
It's, yeah, that's a Urdu word. Ishke is the word.
love.
And, but with a T in it, it's your passion. Ishke means your passion, your
Oh.
obsession, your, you're over the top, but it means yours in this case.
What about Payam? Did you understand it? Ah, she might be making dinner. She's out in California.
Oh,
Jeff,
Yes.
Rhoda
my
mystery. Rhoda taught me
yeah,
that.
beautiful. It's really you sang Ellen very nicely and correctly. I really appreciate. I
Thank
loved it.
you. You can thank Rhoda Mystery for that.
Oh God. And you know, Ellen, my daughter, when Don Stevenson died, he was at London, and my daughter flew from Dubai to London, and she attended the ritual and the church, and she sang this song.
Oh,
And her name is there in the book.
oh.
Yeah,
And what is her name?
Kitty, Sakshi Bhalegar. She was at Finland, and now she's at Dubai now, right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Go back to Finland.
Yeah. Jeff,
Yes.
you said that that was very interesting. You were talking about a plane of six plane person. He's 6 inches below the illusion, and another one like 6,000. But the person, what I want to say, another perspective, that when a person at 6 inches, he can see face to face God.
Yeah.
And that sustains his strong faith that God is there. But a
Yeah.
person who is at 6,000 feet underwater, he has only trust and faith,
Yeah. Good.
which sustains to means see then only, and that trust faith if has to increase, he has to move further, and for that he has to look towards the six plane person also. He may be helpful, so he will be benefited by his faith and love. Like now we are gathering, we are having satsang, this is a satsang, and we are so affected and moved by each other's faith and love, and that sustains our trust and faith in God. And oh, Baba is there, he's the God, and he will never let us down. He is all consciousness, he's everywhere, all pervading consciousness. So that kind of faith, I think Baba loves, and Baba's love is there. So that I wanted to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah, you're right. But here's another metaphor that Baba gave is Baba said there, his being is the sky. And he was at Marizad, and the gross plane is like being on the ground. And someone on the sixth plane is on the roof of Mandalay Hall. But the distance between and he is the sky. So the distance between the sixth plane person and Baba and the person on the gross plane is just infinite. I mean, it's so vast and far. So even though you're seeing God face to face, the distance is unreachable, But anyway, yeah, there's someone on the sixth plane is not, is a good person to encounter every once in a while.
Baba is the pivot.
Yeah.
And
Any other things before we head out here? Any
I just wanted to thank Elaine for the I was in India in '87. I think you were doing the work on that on the cassette of the songs that women sing. That's such a great work that you did to collect all those. And
Oh, thank you. That was a wonderful, yeah, that was wonderful to do that work.
yeah,
Baba dropped it in my lap, actually.
well, you did a beautiful job. I
Well,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. Well, I
Yeah.
had the help of all the women Mandalay. They were all still alive at the time. It was just, Baba wanted it done.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank
By the
you.
way it happened, I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was in the right place at the right time.
I remember your back was bothering you, so we shared a taxi. You had to lay down in the back seat of the
Oh,
taxi. I think
Oh my God.
Yeah, you were so, it was clearly, he took you to the max, I guess, with this work, because you were,
Yeah,
you were,
several times,
yeah.
several times, yeah.
Any, oh, wow. We got Elowen up, one of the youngsters. She's still up at this hour.
Mm.
Catherine is there.
Who?
First time. Catherine Parish. Catherine
Yeah.
Parish.
Yeah. No,
She's there.
aren't you are you in Florida? I can't remember.
Mississippi.
Oh,
Hey, can you hear me okay?
yeah.
Sorry, I'm new to this format, but I used to be in Florida, Jeff. I used to be down in Jacksonville, and I've
Yeah.
been at the center, met you over
Yeah.
the years since I was
Sure.
like, what, 4 years old? I don't know if you remember that. But no, I'm in Mississippi now. That's my hometown where my mother was from. So I was here to be with her.
Yeah. Oh, you're looking after her a little bit.
Well, I
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Do you
But-
know, let's see, other people in Mississippi, ooh.
There's a couple in Jackson, like a married couple that up there, and I can't, it's been so many times. My mother had Alzheimer's, so it's been quite an ordeal to take care of her,
Yeah, no, it's,
But so that kind of took up all of my time. But
yeah.
in the last 8 years or so, but
And your mother passed on?
yeah, in September last year,
Yeah.
yeah. And then there's a group in New Orleans that I've been able to meet. That's about 3 hours from where I'm at. I'm on the river in Natchez, Mississippi, which is
Yeah.
kind of far south near Louisiana. But
Yeah.
no, but not many Baba folk here that I know of.
That's Tanya and Bill Aboud. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah, he's one of our great madmen, Bill Aboud. I love
Yeah.
Bill.
One thing that you might be interested, one time, Dan Ladinsky was walking with Erich and Marwan down the approach road. Probably in the morning, they would go for walks. And Marwan happened to quote something that Upasni Maharaj said. He said it's, and Erich agreed with the truth of it. Marwan said, quoting Upasni, "It's not the good fortune of everyone to be able to serve a perfect master or the avatar directly. But in serving your dying parents is tantamount to serving a perfect master or the avatar. But God has made a concession for everyone that in serving your dying parents is tantamount to serving a perfect master or the avatar directly."
Wow.
So it's no small thing
no, I know.
what you did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah,
I'd never heard that before.
yeah. And it pushes every button there is.
Just about.
You're making me cry, Jeff. No, stop that.
No, that's Upasni Maharaj's fault.
Right. Well, it's been hard, but I'm grateful, very grateful that I was able to have her at home and care for her, surrounded by
gosh.
Baba pictures and stuff. So
Yeah, beautiful.
Wonderful. Good for you.
Yeah,
I had to see my mother out, but I couldn't stay in her home.
yeah.
She needed around the clock nursing and it was too much for me.
yeah,
I never got any sleep. So
I had a nurse come and, and I slept with her and lived with her, but we had, a full-time helper. So
that's
it
good. That's good.
wasn't just me all by myself.
but
but
it's,
Mm.
Erich used to say, live your life on the stage of this world to such an extent that when you depart, Baba gives you a standing ovation.
Well, wouldn't that be nice?
Well, you could just imagine Baba giving the Mandali, each one of them a standing ovation.
Yeah, after years of haranguing them. His real gift was those harangues. That was his
Jeff,
real gift.
Iraj said that to you, right?
No, I just heard it.
I thought
I
he
may
said-
have heard it. I don't know. I've spent so many hours in Mandalay Hall. It's hard to remember what I've read and what I've heard or directly from him or through somebody. Yeah.
Jeff,
Yes.
Jeff, hi. Could you please repeat what you said about, serving the master? Because
Yeah.
my audio went off for a bit.
Okay. It's not the great fortune. It might be the great good fortune, but it's not the great fortune of everyone to be able to serve a perfect master or the avatar directly. Comma, but God has made a concession for everyone that serving your dying parents is tantamount to serving a perfect master or the avatar directly.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Well, let's see. Any other loose change?
Let's
I
turn
took
over
care
to-
of my mother.
What's that?
I've got
Oh.
one thing.
I guess we need to raise hands. I was going to say, I took care of my mom. She passed away here at our Baba house in Oregon. And my mom was deaf. And she was also had pretty dementia. So she was in her own little bubble for sure. But, ordinarily she just stayed in her bed and I would have to go get her if she needed anything to eat or if she needed attention, I had to go browse her.
Yeah.
But the Baba folks were here one day for kind of a little gathering, and I was astonished that she had gotten up out of bed and was on her walker. She was on some level, she was picking up the energy in the house, and she was going to be part of it. It was really wonderful.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
not a normal occurrence for her to get up on her own. And
That's
so
a very
that's-
sweet
that's-
story.
it
Very
was,
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Any other? Michael Childs. Uh-oh, we can't hear you though.
Oh, I clicked the button.
Okay.
My computer betrayed me. I went to, I've only been to India 3 times. First was the Great Darshan, the second was 74. And I made friends with the Padre. And we had long conversations at Lower Maribad. And one of the things we discussed was my woodworking. And I thought that the doors of the tomb would be perfect to place panels in between the spaces. If you look at the tomb, the doors are divided into spaces. That on the churches of Europe, they tell the story of Christ or religious themes, and they mold them into the door itself. And I thought I could carve something about Baba's life to fit in the doors. Well, he said, why don't you do it? I forget how he put it, but it was, I called it, he commissioned me to do the panels. I only did one. And the funny thing is with this commission, I had no idea that I could do it. I don't know that I had the carving tools or the graphic skills. And I really surprised myself at how it turned out. I took it to India, and John said he'd like to have it at the Dharamshala, but I haven't been able to get back there and deliver it to him. Can you guys see?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
beautiful.
Wow.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Amazing.
that's one of my favorite photos of Baba. On that
Yeah.
tree, in that tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Under that tree was so intense.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
He's there 6 times.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
are the ones right here.
Very
So,
nice, Michael.
Yeah.
It took me about 2 years to do it. And but I brought it back with me rather than leaving it with Jal because one, he put it under some newspapers and I wanted people to see it. And the other one was it needed some edges trimmed. It needed some cleaning. And after all, at that time, well, it's about 50 years old by now. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah. Yeah. That should go someplace, some Baba place.
Mhm.
Should have that as, you know, as a part of the
Yes, it
door.
should.
Really, it should, you know, the center, the Heartland Center in Oklahoma, or, you know, Marymount, something. That's anyway. Have we got any last quote? Oh wait, let me
Yes, I have
just
a
say-
Rumi quote. And
Huh?
I have a Rumi quote.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, we're getting kind of close to the end. I mean, even though it's a little open-ended. And before Ganesh reads some last thing, anything that comes to anybody?
Just thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Baba. Well, I mean, this is just an excuse to, you know, to hang out. You know, it's
I know.
I mean, it's not the best brand of beer or wine, but you know, it's just an average tavern.
You bring a little vodka next time and I'll be there.
Oh yeah, look at Dinesh. He suddenly hears vodka and he shows up.
Dinesh
One
is
thing,
a
so
Jai Baba,
Dinesh is a
Vijay, Jai Baba.
हाँ जय बाबा Dinesh is such a silent listener. He's like Hanuman ji used to sneak into bhajan satsang of Rama, and he used to stay at the door only, not so he is so polite and meekly he
Yeah.
stays in the satsang and enjoys. I observe him every meeting.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jai Baba, it's a pleasure listening to you all. And
Yeah.
especially when Jeff's session, you wonderful.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
any last thing here? We'll get Ganesh with Rumi, right?
yes.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, anyways, thanks, Alan. Like I've been for years listening to your CDs. So today it was like the first time I heard from you directly over here, and it was so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Jai Baba.
Yeah. And here it is a quote from Rumi. I just loved it. This was shared to me by Karen. And it says, if you can only crawl to him. If you cannot pray sincerely, offer your dry, hypocritical, agnostic prayer, for God in his mercy accepts bad coin. If you have 100 doubts about God, make them into 90 doubts. This is the way. God has said, though you are on a high or in the pit, always consider me, for I am the way. Rumi.
Wonderful. I
Wow.
love
That was wonderful.
Yeah, that was
Wonderful.
that very translation Erich used to have read. I mean, it's part of a longer one. If you cannot pray sincerely, offer your dry, agnostic, hypocritical prayer. For God in his mercy accepts bad coin.
That's right.
There's hope, folks.
That's right.
Oh, but we have to end with Baba's words from Mayor Prasad. That what you read. This is beautiful. This is something to take to heart. Then we'll have a few moments of silence.
Okay, let me find that. You know, we were talking about heaven and hell, and I remembered a joke Mani shared in the beginning. You know, there was some talk about heaven and hell. This is a short one. There was this argument going on between Michael and Lucifer. Michael is apparently the head of heaven, I think. And
Archangel. Yeah.
Archangel, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
up there.
Lucifer is the head ruler of hell. And they want to build a wall. And Lucifer wants the heaven side people to share in the cost of the wall. And there is a disagreement because they don't want to pay for the wall. So finally, after a long debate, Lucifer, you know, he gets very angry and he says, if you don't pay, I'm going to sue you. And then they immediately, you know, the head of heaven, he immediately gives up. Oh, no, I can't handle that. We'll just pay for it. And then everybody on the heaven side is surprised. How come you agreed so quickly? And he goes, well, we don't have any lawyers to defend, so.
Don't let that get to John.
You know, this reminds me of another one. This very religious man prays fervently because he wants to see what heaven and hell are like, and he prays very fervently, and one day this angel appears and whisks him to this place, and there's a huge a cafeteria. And everybody is sitting around these round tables with a nice bowl of chicken vegetable soup. And they have these long spoons, you know, but the spoons are tied to their hand. So they can dip into the soup, but then they can't get it to their mouth. So everybody's like frustrated. And you know, they said, this is terrible. Yeah, well, this is hell. This is what hell is like. And the next thing, he's transported to this other place, the same kind of cafeteria. Everybody has these, you know, vegetable chicken soup in front of them. And sure enough, their hands are tied to the spoon. And what are they doing? They're dipping into the soup and they're feeding each other. That's the difference. That's the difference between heaven and hell.
That's very good. I
Yeah.
wonder who thought of that one.
I don't know. I think I heard that maybe in Mandalay Hall. I mean, it floated around.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yep.
I got one last one.
Okay.
Another guy, he wants to know what heaven and hell's like. And so he prays fervently and everything. One day this angel shows up and whisks him to this place. And, you know, it's beautiful. Like there's such a nice feeling in the air. Everybody is like, and I notices all different nationalities. They're all getting along. And what's the story here? You know, well, it said that this is heaven. And in heaven, the British are the police, the French are the chefs, the Italians are the lovers, the Swiss are the organizers, and the Germans are the
police,
the mechanics.
Yes.
So the next thing is he's like, you know, goes through and whisks this other place, and oh my, he comes to this place and all these people, there's so much hostility in the air, you could just cut it. I mean, people are very, you know, you can tell the tension in the air. And he said, what's wrong with this place? Well, this is hell. And in hell, the British are the chefs, the German are the police, the Italians are the mechanics, the French are the organizers, and the Swiss are the lovers.
That's very good.
I got that from Arsenio, who worked for the United Nations.
I have something for you to see, Jeff, just as we go out. Can you see
Okay.
it?
No, a little higher. A little higher up. Keep going, keep going. Oh, hey,
These are your old friends.
I know, golly. Look at these guys. Alex and Galen and
Alexander.
Yeah. I used to play with these kids.
I know. You're the Pied Piper.
They drove me crazy. No, they were great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this last, before we go, we have this last quote. And I'm sure Mayor Prasad has found it by now.
Yep.
Okay, and then we'll have a few moments of silence.
In the
Okay.
meantime, I may also tell one joke on hell and heaven.
Oh, go ahead. Do it now. Yeah.
Yes. Your life is heaven if you have American salary, German car, and Indian wife, and Chinese food. You have heaven, you have an Indian wife, American salary, Chinese food, and German car. And your life is hell if you have an American wife, German, Indian salary, German food, and Chinese car.
Oh my God.
Really good.
That's a good one.
Good one,
Good
Sham.
Really
I
good.
think I object to that. I object.
My God.
All the American wives object.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to bend the credibility a little bit. Okay. Okay, so we'll finish with Baba's words. These are very good words to take. They're so simple, but they have deep meaning. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you face in the world, I am facing it along with you. I will never leave you. I am always with you. Read it again. Whatever you face in the world, I am facing it along with you. I will never leave you. I am always with you.
Thank you, Baba.
Okay. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank
Jai
all
Baba.
of you. Everything that was served up tonight on the buffet. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah. Thank you. Always great to see you. And Sham,
It's a little
Payam.
earlier now, so a bit difficult to join in. And I missed your Saturday night chat because it's in the middle of the night.
Oh, uh-huh. Yeah, no, it's only for the spiritually awakened, you know. Those who wake up at 3 a.m. Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Good
Look
night,
at Baba
everybody.
there.
This was fun. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. And
Thank
Michael,
you.
thank you for your very touching story and your seafaring days.
That
Yeah.
was so, Mike.
Yeah,
Thank you all. Love you
yeah,
all.
VJ and good.
Catherine.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Paula, yeah.
Jai Baba, all.
Jai
Yep.
Baba.
Stay safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baba,
Avatar
ladies. all of
Baba
you.
ki
Jai
jai.
Baba.
Avatar Mir Baba.
Baba ki jai.